Hello everyone, and this week's episode of the Stitch Journal is all about stitching sunlight, and I'll show you that. That's what I'm going to be doing today. It's all about getting the sky just perfect. I've really enjoyed stitching that, so I hope you do too. I'm just going to show you a photograph on my phone. I hope it picks up. That's the sort of photograph that I originally was thinking about. It's just the way the sunlight comes through the clouds and shines down and sometimes lights up the fields, or this, in this case it's the sea underneath. But before I get to the clouds, I need to get my sun rays in. And so there are various ways of doing it. I've got bits of organza here. Some have come off the organza bags that the knitting wool comes in. And then I've had a deep dive into my drawers where I keep all sorts, and I did find a bit, and this has got a bit of a yellow hue. If I put it there, you can see it's yellowy. And so I'm cutting some long thin strips off that are just, I'll try and make sure you can see it, that are narrow at the top and wide at the bottom. And I haven't measured anything. I'm just cutting these little shapes, tapering shapes, that are going to come down onto the field like this. And I feel as if they're going to have to be layered up because they're still quite pale. Now if you don't have anything like this, you can do the whole thing with stitching, because I'm going to be stitching on these anyway. So I'm going to be putting 3 of these rays coming through from the clouds. And I realised that, well, before I even get there, I need to work out where the sunshine is. And so I'm going to actually work into this and stitch the sunshine first. And I've just realised I haven't ironed that yet, so I'm going to do that now because I don't want to embroider over it with the creasing. So I've actually found a nice piece of pale yellow in my tangle, and it's just 2 strands. And I've got 2 pieces of that, so that's what I'm going to use to do the sun. And I just want to make sure that I keep totally round, and I'm happy just to use a pencil, but if you want to use your disappearing pen or something like that, but I'm sort of going to just say it's going to be there. I'm just going to put the underneath of where the sun is, just a bit of a circle. Maybe I don't want the full circle, or maybe I do. Maybe I'll put the full circle. Doesn't have to be big though. It just has to be somewhere I can focus my rays from. So I've just put a tiny circle there just to give myself a chance of keeping straight or keeping circular. And so I've got my 2 strands. And I think actually I just want to fill this in. So I've got a nice filled in shape. I'll go around the outside because I've got the line to help me, and I'll work inwards until this is filled up. And I think I could have chosen white for this bit, but I just happen to have this. I'm trying to use as much from my tangle as I can. So there's my outline, and I'm just going to carry on filling in with the straight stitches. I tried to have the door open today because it's really sunny. It would have been nice to have the door open, but it's so cold and so windy here again. The door was slamming shut. Yesterday it was down to 14 degrees here, which is pretty poor for July. I could also have appliqued on a little dot of fabric, that would have been nice. And also it could have been painted. If you've got some acrylic paint, not the intense maybe a bit of acrylic paint would have made a good intense sunshine. In fact, why didn't I think of that? I've just thought of it now. So I'm just going to go back and forward a bit over the top of this because I want it to be sort of quite rounded, if I can get it rounded. So I'm going to use those underneath stitches as padding for what goes on top. And half of this might get covered up by the cloud, but it doesn't matter. What's important is that I've got a focus for where my rays are going to come down. I think that's fine. I've got a missing stitch there, I can see. Can you see there's a gap there? I'll put that stitch in. Okay. That's better. And now I'm going to just do some tiny running stitch around it as the glow from the sun. And these are quite tiny stitches. I'll try my best to keep as circular as possible. I'm not going to go all the way around because I know my clouds are up there. So I'm just going to come back, do the same tiny stitches. This could be done in a hoop just the same, but it is nice to work in the hand when you can. It's just some embroidery stitches don't lend themselves to hand work. Running stitch does. And I think I'll take one more little circle going round. While I'm stitching, running stitching, I can talk about something else. You'll have seen my thrifting video by now, so I hope you all liked it. I had a really nice day, and then the fact that Wendy and I went back the following week was just, yeah, I was really pleased to find that lovely old machine. And yeah, I hope you like the little giveaway, because I loved that little basket, and it just reminded me of the sort of thing I used to get when I was younger, and I thought it would just be lovely for someone to have. So I'll look forward to seeing who gets that when the draw's finished in a couple of weeks' time. I'm also looking forward to doing up that old machine. It's so lovely. It's not in the best of states, but it's a project for me to do. When that's the main thing. It's something that I can physically do and make a difference to. Okay, so that's quite a nice start to that. So now I need to layer up my rays. Oh, before I do that, I just wanted to show you this lovely little cat. I was at Durham Cathedral a few weeks ago, and in the shop they had these little ceramic cats, and Durham Cathedral has sort of a cat mascot. I had to just get him and bring him home and think I'll use him. But now I feel it's awful when I'm sticking my needle in his tummy. For some reason it just doesn't seem right. So he might not have to have a needle stuck in his tummy. He might just have to be a little thing that stands there. And I'll use my normal pin cushion. I'm going to strip this down to one strand now. I've probably got more of this, but that's not the point. It's like one strand is so nice to do. You can get such good effects. I'll put one strand back in my needle. And what I need to do is get some of these bits that I've cut out and just lay them in. So they've got to start somewhere from the sun, and they've got to end on the field. And I can cut the bottoms to the right angle at the end. I'll just see. So that looks a good, try and get 3 of them on so I can see where the first one's going to be. So there's one there, there's 2. They don't have to be evenly put out either, because you see them all different. You know, there might be 2 together and then something else. And then there's 3. I think that can work. So I know I'm going to head it down into the right area. And now with my single strand, I'm going to applique this bit on. So as long as I start up here, I'll bring my needle up, and if I take my first, I'm going to do this all with running stitch. I'm going to take my first little stitch and get that down, and then if there's anything left over at the top here, it's going to be difficult for you to see. There's a little piece of fabric, and I'm just going to cut that off. like that. And I'm going to carry on right down this little ray of sunshine. I think I'll try, actually I'm going to go down the middle. So if you don't have any of this fabric, you can be just doing this all with stitching and it'll still look beautiful. I might actually put another layer on top of here, so I feel as if it's quite pale. Right down to where it touches the cornfield. And I'm just going to get the end in so it's not flapping about. So my next little piece is going to come on. I'm going to do exactly the same. So I'm very close to the other one. The rays all need to look like they're coming out from the same point. I'll lay it down, make sure it's where I want it to be, and then put a pin in at the bottom. That's quite helpful. There. Actually, there's not much fabric there for me to stitch, but it's fine because there's going to be a lot more stitching over the top of it. So again, I'm just going to go straight down the middle of this piece of fabric. And I'm using bigger on the back and just quite a small one on the front. So on this one, I'm actually going to cut that fabric along the line of that yellow stitching there, like that. I'll come back when my third one's done. I think they've worked quite well, and I actually don't know whether I feel I should layer them up. Anyway, I found the threads that the tangle thread was from, so it's this nice pale yellow. I've got sort of a couple of shades further down, and then I've got more of a gold. I don't want to use a bright yellow like this. I don't think that will work. So I'm going for a gold for down at the cornfield end. And I'm going for this up near the sun and this as I get further away. And I'm still going back to one strand. Makes your threads go further too. Yeah. So really, stitching sunlight today, which is quite cool. When I say it like that, when I was thinking of it in my head, I kept thinking, stitching sunlight. And sometimes when you're painting or whether you're stitching, especially if you're doing like a representative thing like this and not just abstract, you are really either painting light or painting shade. Sometimes the shade is what you need, or else you can't see the light. Sometimes on the paintings it doesn't need more light, it needs more dark to show the light up. And then it occurred to me that that's just like life. We have to have the shade, or else we don't realise how much joy can be there. Which, I know everybody just wants to be joyful all the time, but it's just not, it's not possible in a way, is it? We all have those times where we're not joyful. Right, I'm going to put extra lines of stitching. I don't want them to go all the way down. I just want them to enhance the sun. So I'm using this same pail and I'm going to just come up and down with my small little running stitches. I thought about taking great big ones and I think that would be just as nice. But I'm taking small ones at the moment. I'm going in between my appliqued little crepuscular rays. I just want to have that radiation being sort of visible. Maybe I don't need to take it that far down, so I'll just hop over, do another line. I'm going to do shorter lines here because this is more like the normal sunlight, and I'm just wondering whether to do some extra pieces here. As long as I keep going on the radius of the circle and that everything's heading back for the sunshine, I know exactly what line to do. You can just lay your needle in at the sun, and if you sweep your needle round, you're going to find exactly what line you need to do. Look, they're not even on the line. That one is though. That one is. Maybe I don't want that one to get right to the bottom. Take it there. See what it looks like. Finish that bit off. I'm going to change to that darker yellow, this middle one here, and I'm going to do another single strand. I think I want to start halfway down my pieces of applique and put this darker colour in. The light looks warmer as it gets nearer to the land. I'm going to do that on all three. I'll just take it from the sky and just give every piece this extra little warmer colour. Just warms the colour up. Time for an appraisal before I go any further. As I said, you just keep looking all the time. I think I'm going to get the dark yellow on here to give pools of light and maybe just go up there a little bit. But I actually think it's looking pretty decent, so I'm going to try this dark yellow. It's more like a gold. It's so handy having my threads here. I can't tell you how lovely it is to stitch with my whole rainbow of threads. I'm just going to pan you over so you can see them. Look at that gorgeousness. There's all the mess here, of course, because I use my tangle as well. But they all fell on the floor recently and had to get tidied out again. And plus I've got my box to do, which is going to take all the things I normally have on the stitch bows. But it all got re-tidied, and I just think it just floats my boat having that there. Just super lovely. Anyway, back to the sewing. One strand of this gold in my needle. And these that I've taken things out of, these are what I get added to the tangle. And the little bits go to the stitch, to the thread jar. So my tangle here, if I don't use these up in this session, they'll just go onto the top of the tangle. That's how the tangle evolves. It does evolve. It's definitely more. I don't think it doesn't substantially get bigger because I use stuff up from it all the time. But it does evolve. And where do I want to be? I think I want to start along the bottom of where the rays of the sun are touching the field. And I think I want to do long stitches. So I'm going to do individual long stitches. I'm not going to do satin stitch, so I'm going to be coming, satin stitch means that you're going to go back to the beginning, so there's the equal stitch underneath as there is on top. I'm going to come up alongside and come back along. And I'm sort of trying to get the idea of a pool of light. And I don't need them to be all the same length. I just need them to look as if the sunlight is touching the field. And plus it stitches down the ends of my pieces of fabric. Try and get them all looking the same direction. And I'll hop up to this one. So I'm just going to come right along with straight stitches. But I'm not bothered about the lengths, varying lengths. Just making a pool of sunlight. I'm really happy with the way that has turned out, and what I have done is the bottom of my pool of light, I've then taken this gold a little way up each ray, and I've sort of ended it at a similar place to where the dark yellow was. So they've just gone up into there, and then I've done the same here. I've just put 2 little rows of running stitch. Don't want to do too much, but hopefully it'll end up being that this is very pale and it gets warmer as it gets down to the land. So the next thing is to put the clouds on. Which one am I going to use? I've got that. I did feel that that would have made a successful cloud overlaid on. So if you've got any sheer fabric, probably if you've got something plain, whereas I've got this I'm lucky to have this pattern dyed fabric. An overlay would be really nice to sort of fade the colour a little. Or there's nothing wrong with actually, in fact I've got it here, with actually using a bit of cotton, there's that there, and I could just as easily have used that, because those marks on there would have gone in quite nicely. These would have made good dark thunder clouds. Even the yellow on there, the rusty bit. Could have made them go exactly where I wanted them to go. Like that maybe. So there's all sorts of things. Once you just start playing with your fabric, you can do all sorts. That would be really successful. But I've decided I'm using this bit of old wedding veil stuff. And I'm not even going to cut a shape. I'm just going to start having it a bit crumpled. And I've gathered these from my tangle. I've got quite a dark bluey grey and a silvery grey. There's about 4 different shades of grey there that's just come out of my tangle. I'll take this medium one first. I'm going to put 1 or 2. I'm going to actually do 2. 3's too much for me, so I'm going to put the single strand back on there, and I will separate these 2 and then recombine them. Always nicer if you recombine your thread, they lie nicer. I think the way for me to start is actually to start seed stitching this on. I don't particularly want any hard lines, but I do want it to be over the top of that bit of sun. So maybe I just come up. Can you tell I don't plan anything? I just go with the flow. If you need somebody more professional, it's probably not me. I'm more of a see what it looks like at the time. Okay, I'm going to seed stitch about. I'm going to just do tiny stitches. I sort of don't want an outline, but I do want this grey to be visible eventually. So at the minute I'm just going to tack this down, and I'm maybe going to just see what sort of shape it wants to go in itself. That's quite nice. Maybe I'll do that. I want to just let it do its own shape. And I'll go up the side, and then I can cut the excess off. So I'm going to tack this down all the way where I want it to be, and I'll come back when I've got it down. I have my cloud stitched down. I just cut the end off here and put it over there, and I actually like it a bit less creased. I think that's more successful. So I'm going to just pull the creases down on here right to the bottom so that you can see more of the pattern underneath. But I'm ready to actually do the stitching on here, and what I'm going to do is more seed stitches, but I'm going to take them across the clouds and out onto everywhere else. So a seed stitch is really just a straight stitch that you don't do in a line, you do it in a haphazard way. So I want quite small ones here, so these are about 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to go down with my little running stitch just as if I was going to do a running stitch, and I'm going to come back up just the same as if I was doing a running stitch, but this time instead of carrying on in the line, I'm going to choose to go in a different direction, and whatever direction you want is fine, as long as when you come up again you go in a different direction. And quite often it's nice to go across the one you've just made. What you don't want to end up with, I'll pull this right up, what you don't want to end up with is lots of stitches all looking as if they're in the same plane. So it doesn't matter where you come up, you go down in a different angle. And if you see a space, you come up in the space, and I can just do a different angle again. And it's a really nice filling stitch because it's haphazard, but it puts the colour down quite nicely. And you don't have to do the stabbing in and out, you can do it in one movement, one gesture as I normally say. So you just put your needle in and come up wherever the needle wants to go. Just take your little stitch, but then you decide to just go in a different direction. So if I'm going to go across there, I can come up there again, and as long as I go in a different direction, it'll all work out. I go across that one, come up. My stitches have got a bit larger here. I think it's because I know I'm trying to show you what to do. I'm going to start and do some very short stitch tutorials, because sometimes I think it's easier to see them when it's not, you know, this is dark grey on dark blue fabric. It's not so easy to see. And I hesitated from doing something like that before, because I always feel, well, there's plenty of other people doing that out there. Why would anybody want to see mine? But, you know, I think I'll just do it. So as I get to my cloud, I'm going to carry on with the exact same stitch pattern. So seed stitch is going to go down across all of this net, and it'll just enhance the fact that it's a dark edge to a cloud, I hope. And come up and down in a different direction every time. Now I'm going to be putting a lighter edge on here right at the end, but it's important to get the dark first. Well, for me anyway. If you want to do it the other way around, you could put the light lines on first. It won't matter which way around, it's the principle of getting the light and the dark. And I don't want to cover the whole cloud shape in with this, but I definitely want this whole bottom edge to be going grey. And when I come to do the darker grey or the silvery one and the yellow for the sunshine, I'll be doing it over the top of these in the same manner with the seed stitch. Now I'll have to keep looking because I don't want to just get carried away blocking everything in. I definitely want this to be the bottom of a cloud. That's off to the thread jar. Okay, so really pleased with how that looks. So I'm going to go I think it's important, if you are appliquing something down for the cloud, to let your seed stitch go off onto the sky. It's going to make it look really nice. I'm going to get this dark grey in right under here, and I'm going to pull this and flatten out some of those creases so that I can see the underlying colour. And I'm going to do the same here as well. And I'll do the same colour, and I'll come back when I'm changing colours, because otherwise my video is going to be very, 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 very long indeed. I've done the first lot of seed stitches. I'll bring it right up to the camera for you to see. And I've gone right through the bottom of the clouds and onto the fabric, just in a random way really. And I've started to take this really dark charcoal. I've done it through the bottom of there as well. So I'm about to do this bit, and I'm just going to add it in to what's already there. I'm going to have to work upside down because of being left-handed here. But I've still got 2 strands. I've got the very dark, that's, where's my colour? This colour in my needle, which is a lot darker than the one I was using before. Oh, I've used it all up, the one I was using before. So this is the very dark charcoal. And I'm just going to come through where I've already been. And I sort of want to keep the darkness to the bottom. I don't want to spread it through the whole thing. But I am still going randomly and trying to go in a different direction every time I put a stitch in. Particularly I want it to look dark across where the sun is, because when I put the yellow in to show the sun shining out from underneath, I want to be able to get that contrast. I think this is working really successfully. Seed stitch is really, really lovely, and I've just realised it's probably the first time I've done seed stitch, so that's a new stitch for this week. So I'm going to get yellow, and I might choose this gold colour. I think that one might be a bit insipid. I feel I need to go for it, so I'm going for that really gold. So let me think, how am I going to do it? I think, let me start on this bit of sunshine here. I feel as if I need to have the yellow coming through, or the gold coming through. I'm going to do small running stitches. I'm not going to seed stitch this at the moment. I'm just going to outline the bottom of my cloud. I feel by using the darkest gold that I'm going to get the contrast that I need. So I'm actually not seed stitching yet. Just going to see how things go. I'm not going to take that any further that way. When I turn it round, you will see how it looks, and then I'll know whether I'm heading in the right direction or not. Okay, so I think for me, I think I do like the seed stitch with the gold. So I am going to get my gold, and I'm going to come underneath here a bit, and I'm going to go back through here, and then that one there as well. I think here I just want it to be a thicker line, and I don't want it to be quite as straight maybe. So I'm just working on top of the previous stitches. I'm not trying to even work in the middle of them. I'm not bothered about that. I'm just putting the stitches wherever I think these gold ones should be, and I'm still attempting to be random. That's much better. Just take the stitches down onto the fabric a knot on the net. See how that looks. And then I'll just turn this row of running stitch into a bit of seed stitch by just going back through them, because I think I like the effect better. So I just go back through, adding little stitches in, and you'll never know I did a row of running stitch. That's much better. Okay, so I'm going to seed stitch the bottom of this cloud and around here, just so the sun's going on it, and I may add just some gold going out, I'm not sure, but I'm going to do that off camera. I feel that's been a successful piece of stitching. At the moment the sun's coming in the window and it's lighting up exactly on my cornfield, so I've got the extra effect of the sun rays coming down. But I'm really pleased with how I didn't go so heavy on the clouds, and because you can see that my seed stitching is out onto the fabric as well, you don't even need to do that bit of applique if you don't want to, or if you haven't got anything suitable. I really like the fact the effect of the crinkled up netting, but it would have been just as lovely with just the seed stitches. And I think the thing will be to be brave with the choice of colour. It's nice to do the silver grey, but in the end I didn't use any of the pale grey. I've used a medium grey and then a really dark charcoal, and you need that contrast between the dark and then the gold here. I think if I'd gone with the very light yellow, it wouldn't have been visible. You need the contrast of the light and dark to go together. That has come out really, really nicely. So I hope you enjoy doing your version of that on your stitch page. And it did occur to me that if you don't find any fabric like that, because I was lucky to have that dyed fabric there and just saw the little patch of paleness that looked like the sky through some thundery clouds, you could definitely take a piece of fabric and use some acrylic paint and some ink or some Inktense, and you could put the colour on yourself, and it actually could be quite random. Otherwise, appliquing cloud shapes or just the net would be absolutely beautiful. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time when you visit me at Marion's World. And just wish me some good sunny weather, because we really need it here. It's just been so dull and so just dreadfully damp and cold. We're desperate for a bit of sunshine. I've got a feeling it's just coming out again. So I'm going to wrap that up and say bye for now. Thank you everybody for all your support, and I'm going to enjoy a little bit of maybe an hour's worth of stitching out here while the sun shines there. Bye everyone. Thanks a lot for watching.